Chapter 9. If we stop thinking, what do we do about our goals, dreams, and ambitions? There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Napoleon Hill. I think, therefore I suffer. When I finally understood that thinking was the root cause of all my suffering, I was jumping up and down, exhilarated, relieved, and grateful for discovering the true reason for everything negative I've experienced in my life. This ecstasy was short lived, though, because soon after the exuberance settled, the next thoughts popped into my mind. If thinking is the root cause of all my suffering, and I just stopped thinking, how do I live my life now? What about all my goals, dreams, and ambitions? Do I stop wanting things in life? Will I just devolve into a couch potato and not do anything with my life anymore? In case you were wondering, yes, I am telepathic. And yes, I can read your mind. Just kidding, but if you're wondering how I wrote the exact or very similar question and know what thoughts you most likely have right now, it's because I am human too. Contrary to popular belief, all of us are going through similar journeys of awakening to our true selves. So rest assured that many people are having the exact same thoughts you're having right now as you come to see your true magnificence. Now, back to the question of what we do about our goals, dreams, and ambitions if we stop thinking. As I pondered on these questions, an incredible amount of fear and anxiety began to surface because I thought that I would have to give all of it up and become a monk in the middle of the mountains. I was definitely not ready to do that. As much as I wish I were that enlightened and detached from my life, I genuinely enjoyed being in the world, experiencing the fullness of life with other people, even if a large portion of my life was filled with suffering. Here's what I discovered about what to do with our goals and dreams with this new understanding. As we've mentioned in previous chapters, there's a difference between thoughts versus thinking. The source of thoughts and the source of thinking are different, and the source is what will dictate whether it causes suffering or not. Similarly, where our goals and dreams come from will determine whether we feel great about pursuing them or not. Like everything in this world, there's nothing inherently good or bad, only our thinking makes it so. Goals, dreams, and ambitions are not good or bad. It's not really an either or situation, but more about where those goals are coming from. There are two sources of goals created out of inspiration, and goals created out of desperation. When goals are created out of desperation, we feel a large sense of scarcity and urgency. It feels heavy, like a burden. We may even feel daunted by the colossal task we have just committed ourselves to. Imposter syndrome and self doubt begin to manifest, and we always feel like we never have enough time for anything. We go about our life frantically, desperately searching for answers and ways that we can accomplish our goals faster, always looking externally, never feeling enough, how or that we can never get enough. Worst of all, if we happen to accomplish our goal within a few hours or days afterwards, all of those same feelings of lack begin to resurface. We begin not to feel content with what we have done, unable to savor our accomplishments, and because what we did never feels like it's enough, we feel that same way about ourselves. Not knowing what else to do, we look around for guidance externally to see what others are doing and see they're continuing to do the same thing. Thus, we go ahead and proceed to set another goal out of desperation in an attempt to escape all of the negative feelings gnawing away at our soul. When we dig a little deeper into these types of goals we set, they are all typically means goals and not end goals. In other words, the goals we set in the state of desperation are all means to an end. There's always a reason we want to accomplish the goal, and it's always for something else. For example, we want to create a multi-million dollar business because we want financial freedom, or We want to quit our jobs so that we can escape the stress and anxiety that comes from it. We feel like we have to do these things instead of want to. Goals created from desperations are typically realistic and created from analyzing our past and what we think to be plausible in the moment. It feels very confining and limiting. Although these types of goals and dreams may excite us in the moment, as soon as we begin to try to create it, we feel a lack and we are desperate to bring that dream to life. Paradoxically, if we do end up achieving a goal created out of desperation, we end up feeling even more empty than we did it before. The next logical thing we tend to do is to set an even bigger goal out of even greater desperation to hopefully make us feel whole inside. This is how most of us set our goals and how we live our lives. I'm not saying this to criticize or judge at all, but to reveal the reality of it. The only reason I was able to describe it in painful and excruciating detail was because that was my life. Here's the good news. It's not your fault that you set goals that way. If you are and there's a way out. It's through creating goals and dreams out of inspiration instead of desperation. When we create goals out of inspiration versus desperation, it's a complete different story. In this state, we are creating because we feel deeply moved, inspired, and expansive. It feels like a calling rather than an obligation. It is like there's a powerful force of life coming from within us, wanting to be expressed through us to be made manifested into the physical world. This is why painters paint, why dancers dance, why writers write, and why singers sing, even if they never get paid or make a living from it. We feel pulled by a force to create something. We gravitate towards it. We feel completed to do it. When we feel like this, we are creating from a place of abundance instead of lack. Most surprising of all is that in this state, we are creating not for any reason at all, other than because we simply want to. We don't create because we feel like we have to. We create because we simply want to, and there's no other reason. We are not creating these goals so that we can do something else or use it as a means to get something else we want. This creating comes from a place of wholeness and abundance. It's an overflowing of love and joy for life. This is the reason why most of us want or have kids. It's not so that we can milk our kids for their money once they are old enough to work and hopefully use them as a retirement plan. We want to have kids because we want to share the abundance of what we have with them, and it comes from a place of sharing what we have, lots of, versus trying to get something out of them. This feeling of deep inspiration is incredibly difficult to describe because it does not come from this world. It really does not come from us, but through us from something greater than us. I like to call this feeling divine inspiration because the ideas and vision we have of what we want to create seems to be far bigger than we could have possibly imagined or come up with ourselves. Since divine inspiration does not come from us but from something greater, it does not analyze or rely on past data or what you or any other in the world has already accomplished. Divine inspiration is what happens when groundbreaking creations and inventions are created that seems to be impossible not too long ago. It knows no boundaries, limits, or constraints. It is an incredibly expansive force that energizes and lifts us, making us feel like we're high on life. In this state, we feel whole, complete, filled with unconditional love, joy, and peace. We do not analyze, compare, criticize, judge, or rationalize anything, but instead, we truly live, love, share, give, create, grow, and nourish. It really is one of the greatest feeling we can experience, and it is truly a gift that we can experience the divine as humans, and that's because we are from the same source. Everyone has experienced this deep feeling and desire to create something marvelous in the world that's out of pure inspiration and no desperation. Before moving on to the next paragraph, I encourage you to test this theory. Pause here and spend a few minutes thinking about times in your life where you felt an overwhelming feeling and desire to create something magnificent because you felt deeply inspired and called to. It does not matter if you actually created it or not, but just think of a time when you actually felt that feeling to create out of inspiration. Isn't that just one of the most amazing feelings in the entire world? Most of us feel this divine inspiration but then suppress it as soon as we begin thinking about doing it. We begin to think ourselves into doubt, rationalize why we can't do it, tell ourselves that this is unrealistic, why we cannot do it, tell ourselves that it is unrealistic, how we should focus on more important things, and that we are not good enough to do it. As soon as we begin to think about the thoughts of us wanting to create, it completely shuts off the source of that inspiration, and we go back to living life as usual. When we cut off that source, we also cut off the feelings of abundance, exuberance, ecstasy, joy, pure unconditional love, and go back to the feelings of doubt, anxiety, frustration, sadness, and feel confined, struck, or frustrated with our lives. We can only ever follow one calling at a time, either inspiration or desperation in the present moment. The two cannot coexist at the same time, but we can fluctuate between the two depending on how much thinking is going on. When we stop thinking, we don't stop having goals and dreams. We actually fall back into our true nature and begin to create goals and dreams out of inspiration versus desperation. We begin to allow thoughts from the universe to come into our mind that lead us to divine inspiration, to create something that has never been created before in the world. When we follow divine inspiration, we feel alive, whole, joy, love, peace, and fulfillment. So, how can we tell when a goal or dream is created out of inspiration or desperation? A simple way to know if a goal or dream is created out of inspiration is to remember the distinction between thoughts and thinking. Goals and dreams that come in the form of thoughts are created out of inspiration. Goals and dreams that come from thinking are created out of desperation. Typically, when we think, we'll analyze, judge, criticize, rationalize, and use our past to try to create our new goals. But this form of creating goals feels extremely restricting and limiting. We don't typically feel good when creating these types of goals, and when we are pursuing them, we do not feel great either, since it's all out of desperation. Another way to identify the two is to sense how you feel energetically. Goals and dreams created out of desperation will feel very heavy, draining, confining, and empty. We tend to feel a lot of scarcity, fear, and stress, like we have to do it or that we're obligated to. With these types of goals, it seems like if we do not accomplish it, that there will be dire consequences, hence the high pressure and stakes. I'm sure you can see now how this can create the feeling of desperation. Moreover, we feel like we're trying to accomplish these goals to escape our current situation and get out of something. Our goals created in this state are typically means goals, meaning that we want to achieve these goals so that we can do something else afterwards, such as having the goal to quit our job. Most likely, you'll have this goal because you want to go do something you actually enjoy. But you can see how the goal of quitting your job is just a mean goal for you to go do something else. Or having a goal of making $1 million is typically set because you want to have financial freedom and go travel the world. These goals are always a means to an end and not the end itself. There's always a reason that we want to accomplish these goals and make us feel very empty inside. I want to emphasize that none of these goals are inherently bad, or that we should not have goals of wanting to make money or quitting our jobs. If those goals are created from inspiration, that is completely different. It just depends on the source of the goals and not necessarily the goal itself. This is an important distinction to make. Otherwise, you'll spend most of your time debating and stressing yourself out over if this is the right goal for you or not. There's no right or wrong goal, only goals created from inspiration or desperation. It just depends on how you want to feel inside. And when you're awake of these two types of goals and how they manifest, then you'll be able to feel blissful as you go about creating, analyzing, creating amazing things in your life. On the other hand, goals and dreams created out of inspiration, which comes from thought, feel very light, energizing, uplifting, and expansive. We tend to feel excited, joyful, and most importantly, inspired. We do not feel like we have to create it, but that we want to. Instead of feeling like you need to do this, you feel inspired to. There's virtually no pressure because we're not trying to get out of something or escape our current situation by accomplishing this goal. There is no scarcity or urgency because we do not feel like we are creating from a place of lack but instead from a place of abundance, and we just want to share it with the world. Since it's coming from inspiration, we are not doing it to get something out of it so that we can do something else. It's not a means goal, but simply an end in and of itself. There's no reason we need to create it. We are not creating so that we can feel whole, but we are creating because we feel whole and want to give from that place, not expecting anything from it. I'm sure you can see the stark difference between the two now, and that you can tell which type of goals currently fall under. If most of your goals fall under the category of desperation, don't worry because most people have goals created from desperation, including myself, because before I knew a better way. So, how do we create goals and dreams out of inspiration versus desperation? Creating goals and dreams from divine inspiration is not something you have to try to do. We naturally have thoughts of infinite inspiration all the time. If you look at children, they naturally have the wildest dreams and imaginations of what they want to do. It almost does not even register in their minds that they cannot do something most of the time. The only difference between us and children is that we have learned to shut down all these thoughts of inspirations which contain our dreams, hopes, and goals that we truly want to see manifested in the world. Our minds are filled more with reasons of why we cannot than thoughts of what we want to create. We innately have an infinite flow of inspiration that comes through us, but we block that flow as soon as we begin thinking about the thoughts we have, which causes self doubt, self sabotage, and anxiety. Think of the flow of inspiration to create like a river. The river always flows until man puts something there to block it, like a dam. Then, when the dam is there, we ask why there are so many fish dying, animals disappearing, and forests dwindling when all we need to do was return the river back to its natural state. And everything will be working perfectly fine, the way nature intended to do it. This is the same
Chapter
for our
10,
minds and goals.
Unconditional
We always
Love and
dream, have
Creation.
big
The
goals,
greatest
and
power
know
that
what to do
mankind
at
could
all
ever
times
achieve
when we are
is the
trapped
power
into
of
our inner
unconditional
wisdom
love.
and inner
This is when
intelligence,
people
free
with
from
no
thinking.
limitations,
If we
conditions, or
simply do
boundaries
not think
truly
about
bring
our thoughts, any
unconditional love.
sort of
I
thoughts
learned about
about
unconditional
dreams,
love
goals, and
from my
desires that
extraordinary girlfriend,
naturally arise
Martina.
are
For
all from the
most of my
divine.
life,
And
I
that is
always
how you
questioned
create goals
everything. I
out of
had to know the
inspiration
reason
versus
behind why things
desperation.
were the way they were.
A question
Otherwise, I would
that
go
greatly
crazy.
helps
I could
me to
not
settle
just
the thinking
experience
and
life
tap
knowing the
into the
meaning and
limitless well of
reasoning behind
possibilities of
everything
what I could
naturally,
create
as
is
anyone
if I
would in
had
a
infinite
relationship
money,
after dating
already
her for about
traveled the
a
world,
year at the
had no
time. I
fear,
asked
did not
Martina
receive
why she
any
loved me. She
recognition for
innocently
what I did,
replied that She did
What would
not
I
know
do
why.
or what would
She
I
just
create?
knew she
Whenever
did.
we ask
Then
questions,
she asked
answers
me
always
why I
arise.
loved
It is
her, and I
impossible for
listed
our
off
brains to
dozens
hear
of
a
different
question
reasons
and
why.
not come
It
up with a
ranged from her
response.
beautiful smile to
So,
her
when you ask
adorable laugh,
yourself
how
this
pure her heart
question,
is, how much
whatever
she
begins to
loves her
come up for
family,
you
how
without
intelligent
any
she is,
manual
and the list
thinking
goes
will be
on
from the
almost
divine and
indefinitely.
from inspiration
We've been
versus
dating for 6 years
desperation.
now, and every
The
few
way
months
the
after
question is
that first
worded
time I
is
asked, I would
extremely
ask her
important
why
because
she
it
loved
removes
me, and
most of
even
the
up
thinking,
until this
fear,
point, she
criticism,
still
and
says the
external
same thing.
reasons
I
of
don't know.
why
I just
you
know
would
that I
want to
love
do
you a
something.
lot.
So it
This
focuses
slightly
your
bothered me
answers
for
on
so
what you
long
truly
because
want
I
to
did not
create.
understand why she
Usually,
didn't
it's for
know why she
no
loved me.
reason
I could
other than
list
you
off
just wanting
50
to
reasons
create
of
it
why I
because
loved
it's
her,
fun,
but she could not
without
list
any
a few.
influences
Even
from the
still, throughout
material
the
world.
years, I loved her
Try
so
asking the
much, I
question
did
and
not really
seeing what
mind
comes
that
up
she
for
didn't
you.
know.
You'll be
I just
surprised
accepted
at
it
what
and
surfaces,
continued to
but
love
don't
her
get caught up
anyway
with
because I could not
your
help
thinking.
myself.
When
It was
those
not
true
until a
dreams
few
of
months
yours
ago that
begin to
it
be revealed
dawned
to
on
you,
me as
to a
to
mind
why
without
she
the
could
limits
not
of
think of
thinking,
reasons of why
anything
she
is
loved me.
possible. I began to question the reasons that I had for why I loved Makina. Then I had an epiphany that changed my life forever. I asked myself, did I love her because of her laugh or because she loves helping other people? What happens if she does not laugh one day or does not help someone that day? Do I stop loving her if she does not do the things that I said were the reasons that I love her? I realized that if I create reasons for why I love her, then it makes my love for her conditional to those specific traits or actions. And if she does not do them, then I don't love her. This is, of course, not true. In that moment, I had the awe-inspiring insight that Makina could not list off reasons of why she loved me because her love for me was unconditional. There were no reasons for why she loved me because if she had reasons, it would mean she only loved me if I were executing those traits or doing those things she had in her mind. Her love for me is not based on my mood or what I did. Her love for me goes beyond all reasons and does not come from a place of reciprocity. She does not love me because I love her, nor is she loving me because what I can do for her. She is experiencing so much love within herself that it's an outpour of an abundance of love that she is gifting me unconditionally. Attempting to articulate the feeling of this and where it comes from is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life because I am attempting to describe the indescribable. From this experience, I learned to make my love for Makina unconditional by not placing reasons or conditions for when I would love her. Because if I did that, by default, I place conditions on when I would not love her. There is just so much love in me now because I've experienced that there is simply an outpour of unconditional love where I cannot help but love her no matter what. This unconditional love does not come from external reasons but comes from within, from the infinite source we all came from. We are all connected to this pure unconditional love, which is God, the universe, or whichever name you choose to use. The only thing that gets in the way of this is our own thinking, which separates and cuts us off from that unconditional love, unconditional creation. Unconditional creation is the purest form of creation there is. When something is created from unconditional love, we cannot help but to stand there and admire it in awe. The unconditional creation is always innovative, unique, new, captivating, bold, different, revolutionary in its own way. Very few people operate in its space because we always put conditions around what we do or make. Few examples: whenever we are working to achieve a goal of making more money, we might go and try to create income for ourselves. This is conditional creation because no one wants money just to have money. Most people want money for something else or to be able to use it for another thing they want. This, by nature, makes what they are creating conditional. They are only creating this because they want something else out of it. When we create something for something else, typically we do not enjoy the process of creating because it is always just a means to an end, never an end in itself. This is why we always feel like we're chasing, grinding, hustling, trying, and feeling constantly stressed and overwhelmed. Even after we accomplish our goal, we'll only enjoy it for those few seconds and then we're off to another goal we have to chase because we never actually got what we were looking for. What we are ultimately looking for are feelings. We want more money to get a sense of security and peace. We want to spend time with our family because it makes us feel so much love and joy. We want to do what we love because it gives us a sense of fulfillment inside. These are all ultimately feelings that we are trying to get, but we keep thinking that the goal or object we want will give us those feelings. This idea is inherently flawed because our feelings can only ever be generated from within us, not from external things. External things can prompt us to create the feelings, but ultimately it is us that produces those feelings from within ourselves. What's paradoxical, like everything in the duality of life, is that when we create something without conditions or reasons, we actually immediately feel all of the positive feelings we want. Unconditional creation is creating something without it being for another purpose, but purely to create it because we just want to create it. It's not for money, fame, love, or anything else. We create it simply because we want to create it. This is creation from abundance. When we create from this state, we already feel whole inside, and all of the love we want to feel is what we are feeling in the moment. We can only pursue unconditional creation if we are in the state of non thinking. Our brains will make us think that it is pointless to do something just simply because we want to. But that is the secret. As soon as we do things for no other reason, we step into the realm of living our life unconditionally. This is when we experience flow, oneness, and a direct connection to the universe or God. Chapter 11. What do you do next after experiencing peace, love, joy, and fulfillment in the present? Don't think it complicates things, just feel. And if it feels like home, then follow its path. Ariam Drake. If you've been applying the principle in the book, you have most likely been able to find peace through non thinking. If not, I highly encourage you to remember that all of our negative feelings come from our thinking. All you have to do is become aware of that fact, which will settle the thinking just like the debris settling in dirty water. Once you see that it is just your thinking and that there's nothing to be afraid of, then you will experience true peace in your life in the present. Once you have been able to experience peace, you might be unsure as to what to do next. At this point in time, you may be experiencing worry, anxiety, and doubt. Many of my clients, including myself, began to wonder if they lost their edge and drive to do anything in the world. Don't worry, this is all normal and part of the process of awakening. You're already learned the hardest part, which is to practice non thinking and preventing your negative thinking from controlling your life. The reason why we feel worried, anxiety, and doubt after we have experienced peace is because we have just let go of everything we thought we knew in the world. What actually happened was the death of the personal ego. A natural consequence is that once the personal ego is threatened, it will do everything in its power to regain control over your life again. The ego is something that we cannot quite get rid of, however, forever, which is why even after you experience peace, there may be feelings of doubt, worry, and anxiety coming up. It is in this moment that the ego thinking will come back up to attempt to reclaim your throne. But worry not, because you have already learned how you can quickly dismantle your ego, your thinking, by remembering that your thinking is the only cause of your negative feelings. The point is to not try to prevent your thinking from ever entering your mind, but to shorten the time that it takes for you to remember that it is just your thinking that's causing the negative emotions. It's impossible to prevent thinking from happening because It's so ingrained in us. For example, it's in our human nature that when we suddenly see that we're about to step on a venomous snake on our path, we will freak out. But when you realize that it's just a piece of rope, you see through the illusion, knowing that your thinking is what caused you to become afraid, and you resume your peaceful walk to the beautiful trail. We cannot prevent that initial reaction, but we can always remember the truth and return to our natural state of peace. And that's all that matters. Another reason that we may feel anxiety, worry, and doubt once we experience peace is because we were using a colossal amount of energy when we were thinking all of the time. Most people spend the majority of their day in a state of stress thinking, which consumes enormous amount of energy. When we stop thinking, this energy you used to think is now freed up, but it has not been directed anywhere yet. And what happens is we return to our old patterns of putting that energy back into thinking because that is how we were conditioned. What we can do in this case is to channel the newfound energy into our goals of inspiration. This is the cure and intervention of preventing this energy from going back into overthinking. For this to work, make sure that you have spent some time creating your goals out of inspiration versus desperation and having it top of your mind so that you can channel all of your energy towards it once you experience this phenomenon. If you have only goals of desperation in your mind, then directing energy towards it will only perpetuate the thinking and the negative feelings. What tends to help many people in this stage is to also have an activation ritual. An activation ritual is a morning routine that helps them build momentum in a positive direction immediately when you wake up so that it's easier to stay in that state of non thinking for the rest of the day. An object in motion will stay in motion. I never understood why spiritual masters and all great leaders have a morning routine until I understood the power of non thinking and momentum. Here's the good news. Now that all of your energy is not tied up into thinking anymore, you can now use this freed up energy and channel it into creating new goals from inspiration to fuel and propel you into your new life full of peace, joy, and love. Chapter 12. Nothing is either good or bad. There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. William Shakespeare. Here's an analogy that helps put this into perspective. On a piano, there are 88 keys. When we look at a piano, we don't point out specific keys for no reason and say that that key is wrong. We only think of a specific key is wrong if we think someone is playing a specific song and hits a key that is not in the song. Inherently, the piano has no wrong keys though. There are only keys and notes that sounds more or less pleasant when played consequently. Just like that. How there are no wrong keys on piano. There are no wrong decisions in life. There's only thinking that gives us pleasant or not so pleasant feelings. When we put things into a bucket of right or wrong, good or bad, this creates duality and conditions in our lives which determines how we feel. For instance, if we believe that the opposing political parties are wrong or bad, this can cause animosity within us and make us feel a concoction of negative emotions. If, on the other hand, we see different political parties in the same way as there are different keys on the piano, and how there are no inherently wrong parties, then we open ourselves up to experience love, joy, and peace in the moment. We begin to see alternative perspectives that we have not seen before and have an opportunity to deepen our understanding of the true nature of life. It's like if we are hiking on a mountain and stop at specific points to look at the beautiful view. There are no wrong spots that we can stop at, stand in, and take in the magnificence of nature. But by being open to all possible spots we can stand in, we can see the view from different vantage points we have not seen from before. Instead of looking for right or wrong, good or bad in the world, look for truth. Instead of trying to prove we are right and they are wrong, or how they are better and we are worse, look for the truth in what's in front of you. We are worse, look for the truth in what's in front of you. I would only caution this by saying that many people believe what they think is the truth. For the most part, without this deeper understanding of life, most of what we think is not truth, even though it may seem like it. True truth is not subjective. If it is true for one person but not for another, then it is not universal truth. Look for what is universally true for every single conscious human being on the planet, no matter who they are, where they're from, and what their background is. That is the true truth, and that is where you'll find everything you've been searching for. Remember that the only place you can find this is deep within your being. So don't try to go looking for it outside of you. If you're confronted with something that may stir up negative emotions, go within yourself to find the source of universal truth deep within your soul. If you try to look up for the answers outside or try to dig into external reasons for the root of why you feel this way, you will be looking for the rest of eternity and will never find out. Negative emotions are an indication of misunderstanding. When we are gripped by negative emotions, it means that we believe what we are thinking. It is in this moment that we simply forgot where our experiences comes from and that our thinking is the cause of our negative emotions. All you have to do is remember that thinking is the root cause of how we are feeling. Once this is brought into your awareness, don't fight the thinking. Just become aware that it is your thinking that's causing the ill feelings. Welcome it with love, and it will slowly dissipate before your eyes. Not too long after, you'll return to your natural state of peace, love, and joy. Chapter 15. How do you know what to do without thinking? The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Albert Einstein. In the previous chapter, we discussed how there is no right or wrong in this world. This chapter will build on the last to deepen your understanding and illuminate how to know what to do without thinking. Although there are no right or wrong decisions we can make, just like how there are no wrong keys on a piano. There are decisions or keys that are more pleasant than others depending on the context. Knowing that there is no right or wrong relieves us from quite a bit of pressure to choose the right one. When we make decisions, we want to rely on non thinking. When we try to think, analyze, create pros and cons list, and ask everyone, including our pets, for advice, it causes anxiety and frustration until we make the decision. Most of the time, we already know deep down what to do in any specific situation. This is often referred to as your gut feeling, intuition, or inner wisdom. What we do is try to confirm our intuition with the external world, and this is where most of the negative emotions begin to surface, wreaking havoc on our mental state because of everyone's opinion. Only you can know what you want to do. No one else can tell you this. There will be mentors and coaches that can guide you to help you along the way. But the best ones will tell you to listen to your intuition and look within yourself for the answer. The truth is only ever within you. This is why many of us experience the phenomenon of regret when we knew deep down what we should have done based on our gut feelings, but we ignored it and listened to someone else's advice or opinion. Your intuition will always lead you to where you need to go and what you should do at any moment in time. It's like a real time inner GPS that will tell you when to take a detour and which path you should take if there is a blockage on the road to your destination. It's guaranteed that our inner GPS will guide us to exactly where we want to go. But what's not guaranteed is how or which path it will put us on to take us there. There are infinite circumstances that can happen on the journey to the destination, but you can rest assured your GPS will get you there. Important note: society will almost never confirm our intuition until it's mainstream already. For this reason, if you try to look outside for confirmation on what you know to be true for you, you'll almost always get a backlash and differing opinions on what next steps you should take. Avoid looking externally for answers. Follow your intuition, your gut feeling, your inner wisdom, and the universe or God. When you do this, you will begin to see miracles occurring in your life that you never could have expected or even dreamt of. Those who have the faith and courage to do this will discover the true joy, peace, and love they have been looking for while enjoying the miracle of life. So, how do we know what to do without thinking? The truth is, most of us know what to do, but we are just afraid to do it. For instance, if we want to lose weight, most of us know exactly what we need to do. The formula to losing weight is not rocket science or written in hieroglyphics. Most of us know that all we need to do is burn more calories than we consume, work out, and eat healthy foods, and we'll lose weight. For anything in life, you most likely already know deep down what to do, but are afraid of doing it or don't believe that you are good enough to do it. The first step is realizing that you already know what to do. You just think you don't because of fear or self doubt. If you don't have any fear or self doubt about the situation and still see that you don't know what to do, then the next step is to trust your inner wisdom, infinite intelligence, that it will give you the answers you need. We have the ability to access an infinite number of what you thoughts, so there's definitely no shortage of ideas on what you can do in any given moment. The only thing that's stopping us from accessing this abundance of knowledge is our own thinking. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think that you can or can't, you're right." If we walk around our lives thinking we can't, then we immediately block ourselves from the limitless possibilities of what we can do in any given moment in time. But when we realize the break in our mind and realize that it's just your thinking holding us back, we automatically return to our natural state of abundance and unlimited possibilities in that moment. We can receive any answer we need on what to do. In short, know that you already know, and if you don't know, know that you can know what you need to know. If you know that you can always know, then what you need to know will always come to you. Trust in your own intuition and inner wisdom. It has always and always will be there for you when you need it, as long as you trust that it will. Chapter 14, How to Follow Your Intuition. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Steve Jobs. In a previous chapter, we talked about how we don't need to think in order to thrive in the world, and that the way we do thrive is to remove the thinking we have going on. The state of flow is a state of pure oneness and a direct connection to everything around us. Because there is no separation when we are in that state. We can also say that it is a state where we are in direct connection and alignment with God, universe, or infinite intelligence. What thinking does is sever this connection we have with the divine, causing us to feel stress, frustration, anger, resentment, depression, and all of these negative emotions many of us feel on a daily basis. This is why some religions describe hell as the complete separation from God. From now on, for simplicity's sake, I'll be using the term non thinking instead of flow, but they really are synonymous when I use them in this book. This state of non thinking also means a direct connection to infinite intelligence. Many will attribute the state of non thinking or flow with a particular activity that we love to do, and that's the only time we can be in flow. This is far from the truth. We can be in a state of non thinking at any point of time. The only time we can really be in a state of non thinking is in the present moment. We can only see reality in the present moment. And when we are actively thinking, it means we are either in the past or future, which don't exist. Only in the present moment can the truth be found. This is why all of the spiritual masters and leaders always teach to meditate, pray, and to be in the present moment. In the Bible, when Moses asks God her name, she replies with, I am. God didn't say that she was or will be because they don't exist, but simply with I am. God, truth, the universe, freedom, peace, joy, and love, all these terms are all synonymous, can only be found and therefore experienced in the present. When you're following your intuition, it means you're trusting yourself and having faith that you always have the inner wisdom necessary to help guide you through everything in life. This is a state of non thinking or flow. Let's explore how we can make this concept practical and bring it into our everyday lives. What does following your intuition and inner wisdom look like? And how can we do it? When you're following your intuition, you're completely taped into something greater than your personal self. You are in a state of non thinking, flow, and direct connection with God. In this state, you always know what you need to do without thinking and are guided by infinite intelligence. It almost seems like we're not doing anything when we are in this zone because we lose our sense of personal self and become one with life. When we are in this state, miracles occur such as business deals coming out of nowhere, people showing up at the right place at the right time, money comes in exactly when we need it. Connections that we were looking for spontaneously fall upon our laps, and life seems almost magical. Time seems to wrap and bend around us, and that's because there is no sense of it. We proceed to then accomplish more within a few days than others do within a month. Abundance, love, joy, peace, harmony, and gratitude are inevitable and inseparable feelings that are experienced in this state. Every single person has experienced instances where they have felt like this before. Although many have experienced this phenomenon, very few are able to maintain it for extended periods of time. The main reason is because more relapse back into thinking and believe that they have to figure it out themselves. It is when we begin thinking that we lose this power of creating miracle like events and circumstances. The truth is that we don't have to have it all figured out, nor do we even have to figure it all out. How can our limited minds possibly understand and try to manipulate the entire world to our desires? It is only when we think we know more than God that we run into problems. The great news is that we don't have to know more than her, nor do we have to even think. All we have to do is trust in our own intuition and have faith that our inner wisdom will show us the way that is best for us. When you ask people who are the most abundant, joyful, and successful how they made it, they will usually attribute their success to some sort of higher power or luck. These people have trusted in something greater than themselves and thus attributed to that instead of attributing their success to sheer willpower and brute force. There's so much in life that's completely out of our control, and we can really only control a very small portion of it. This is not to say that we give up because we can't control our lives. It is quite the opposite. When we realize that we don't have to control and try to force everything to happen our way, we become free from suffering, pain, and frustration and begin to fall into this state of non thinking where things just all happen for us instead of to us. We begin to see that everything was perfectly placed in our lives to help us become the exact person we are now, and that if anything were changed, we would not have what we do now. There are millions of small circumstances and events that have to have been meticulously orchestrated for us to be where we are now. To plan that would be impossible and futile, yet here we are. This is the miracle of life. To go back on a point we just made about
us not having to control things in our lives. There's a caveat that I want to highlight. It is true that we cannot control everything that happens in our lives, but what we can control is whether we think or not, which is the root cause of all of our problems and negative emotions. We can decide to change our experiences of life whenever we want and how we feel at any moment. This is how we can choose to be happy, by choosing to let go of our thinking. Isn't that what ultimately matters at the end of the day? It's not about what we have, but how we feel inside. That is the true measure of success, joy, and fulfillment. The other point I wanted to bring up is that although we cannot control a lot of things, what we can have a say in it is what we want in our lives, but not necessarily the how. For instance, we have the gift of imagination, access to infinite intelligence, which means we can come up with anything that we want in our lives. This is an amazing blessing, but where things can go sour is when we think that we need to figure out the how in order to make it happen. It is at this point that most people give up or continue down the path of brute force to try bring it to life and suffer daily for it. This is why people believe that we have to work hard and suffer for what we want in life. That it's simply not true. It's only true if we think we have to figure out the how to get what we want in life. Our job is to come up with what we want, not how to get it. The how is really up to the universe. This is the best case scenario anyway, because there are an infinite number of ways to bring about what you want in life. So, for our little finite brains to figure it out would be futile nonetheless. We only suffer when we try to figure it all out. But we don't have to. This is when we have to rely on our intuition and inner wisdom to help show us exactly what we need to do in real time to manifest what we want. There is no need to try to figure it all out in advance. Our part is to hold in our minds what we want and get into a state of non thinking. This enables us to access our infinite intelligence, God, so that the answers are revealed to us exactly when we need. The path forward is only revealed when we begin walking. There is never going to be a time where the entire path is illuminated for us to see beforehand. That would completely negate the need for faith, and that is why faith and trust is of utmost importance when manifesting something. We must have complete, unwavering faith that what we want to create will come up to us, and we can only do this by fully trusting in the universe to orchestrate how it will happen. We can always get what we desire in life. It just may not be on our timeline or in the way we want it to manifest. Our intuition and inner wisdom, God actually speaks to us all of the time. You know that small voice inside that always know what you should do. Maybe it's to leave your job, forgive a person that hurt you, ask someone out, or reconnect with someone. It's that gut feeling you get when you know what you need to do. Have you ever regretted not doing something in a moment your gut told you to do it? Have you ever had a gut feeling to do something that you have no logical reasoning as to why, but you did it anyway, and amazing things happened afterward? That's your intuition. Our intuition does come to us in the form of thoughts, but remember that there's a stark difference between thoughts and thinking. As we discussed in a previous chapter, thoughts are divine by nature and feel like they pop into our minds out of nowhere. Thinking, on the other hand, is a manual, strenuous effort that we create ourselves, which feels very heavy and typically has negative emotions attached to it. When you have divine thoughts from infinite intelligence, there's a sense of knowingness to it. It contains the truth, and you just know deep down that it's right. Your intuition will almost never seem logical or rational, but that's exactly what we want because We don't want it to be predictable. If it were predictable, it would not be miraculous. And it would not contain the infinite possibilities of the universe, which are all spontaneous by nature. Your intuition will almost always go against your logical, rational mind, so be prepared for that. It will whisper to you that you should talk to this random person in a coffee shop that leads to a beautiful friendship, or for you to call up a friend spontaneously where you find out they really needed someone to be there for them during a difficult time. It will tell you to step into and live in your divine gift and put yourself out there to share the truth of what you know. It will softly beckon you to pursue what you truly want in life versus following what everyone else says that you should want. These are a few examples of the infinite number of ways it will speak to you, and when you follow it, it will always create miracles and abundance beyond your wildest imaginations. So, why don't more people listen to their intuition if it always knows what to do and creates abundance whenever it is followed? Fear? Listening to our intuition can be scary or extremely daunting. This is because our intuition lives in the space of the unknown. In other words, our intuition is spiritual and operates in the field of infinite possibilities, which by nature is the field of unknown. We as humans always fear the unknown because we cannot predict what might happen. It's only when we step into the unknown that we can begin to experience the limitless possibilities that life can bring to us. This is why magical things and miracles happen when we trust our intuition. We are literally stepping into the zone of pure possibility. It is for this reason that we only need to know the what of what we want to manifest, but not the how. The only way you can enter this space of miracles is through non thinking. If we think, we immediately get ejected out of the space and enter a state of anxiety, worry, and suffering. Our thinking will try to predict what might happen based on the past. This is why most people get more of the same of what they have always gotten. They try to use their limited personal mind to create something that they have never experienced before, innocently not realizing that they must step into the unknown by entering the state of not thinking and listening to their intuition. We can only ever create something we have never experienced in the realm of infinite possibilities, but the only way to make that happen is to go where we haven't gone before, which is the unknown. In summary, your intuition always knows what you need to do in the present moment, but the only way to access it is by getting into a state of non thinking. Your personal mind will freak out because you're stepping into the space of infinite possibilities, the unknown. But if you remember that it is just thinking that is making you feel fear, the fearful thinking will fall away, and the courage you need to act on your intuition will naturally surface. It is in this moment that you must have faith in your inner wisdom, God, to guide you through life even when you don't know what will happen next. But that's the adventure and joy in it. The unknown is also the only way to manifest what you want in life if you don't already have it. You have to do what you have not done in order to get what you don't have. When you're operating from intuition, it's not like you're going to feel fear all of the time. The fear is only present as long as your thinking is revolving around fear. Once you acknowledge the fear and understand that it's only your thinking that's causing those feelings, the illusion will fall apart and you'll fall back into peace, joy, and pure love. This is the space you want to stay in, which will allow you to create the positive feelings that are the prerequisites to manifesting all you could possibly imagine for yourself. Chapter 15, Creating Space for Miracles. Today, I make space for miracles. I recognize that it's not how big a miracle is that's important, but how much room I create for it. Kyle Gray. The story of the Zen master and the scholar, Empty Your Cup. Once upon a time, there was a wise Zen master. People traveled from far away to seek his help. In return, he would teach them and show them the way to enlightenment. On this particular day, a scholar came to visit the master for advice. I have come to ask you to teach me about Zen, the scholar said. Soon it became obvious that the scholar was full of his own opinions and knowledge. He interrupted the masters repeatedly with his own stories and failed to listen to what the master had to say. The master calmly suggested that they should have tea, so the master gently poured his guest a cup. The cup was filled, yet he kept pouring until the cup overflowed onto the table, onto the floor, and finally onto the scholar's robes. The scholar cried, "Stop, the cup is all full already. Can't you see?" "Exactly," the Zen master replied with a smile. "You're like this cup, so full of ideas that nothing more will fit in. Come back to me with an empty cup." It is ironic how much could be written about nothing. That's what space is, nothing. When we study the universe and quantum physics, we realize that everything comes from nothing. Therefore, the great spiritual masters call this the great nothingness. For there to be creation, there must first be space. The space is true for our own minds. If you want something new to be created, such as new thoughts, then you must first create space so that you can receive new ideas that can change your life, just like the teacup. If your mind is completely full of old thinking, it is impossible to have any new thoughts come into your mind to create the change you seek. The way we can create this space is through non thinking. As soon as we stop our strenuous efforts to think, we immediately create space where new thoughts and ideas can enter our minds. Questions that challenge our current way of thinking are also a great way to create space in our minds. All the magic happens in this space of nothingness. For instance, great athletes go through intense periods of training, but the best athletes know that they need an equally intense period of rest afterwards to stay in peak performance. It is during the rest period that they recover, build muscles, and become stronger. This space they create for themselves through rest is where everything they wanted from the workout manifests. When Thomas Edison was confronted with a particularly challenging problem, he would sleep in his chair while holding a steel ball in each of his hands. Eventually, he'll slip into a deep enough state of sleep where the ball would drop, wake him up, and a solution to his problem would pop into his mind. Everything comes from nothing, and Edison understood this concept of creating space for new thoughts to enter his mind instead of attempting to effort his way into solving problems with his old way of thinking. He knew that old thinking was not going to give him the solution to his challenges. We cannot solve problems by using the same level of consciousness we were at when we created them. Albert Einstein. Einstein had already had different quirky, enigmatic behaviors, just like Edison, but a similar understanding of creating space. When Edison was stuck on a difficult problem, he would stop working on it and play the violin. As he was playing, the answer would come to him out of seemingly nowhere, and then he'd have the solution to his problem. Einstein had created space within his mind through non thinking to be able to receive divine downloads from the universe. We don't have to try to figure everything out. Even the people we deem as geniuses didn't strain and effort their way into making the greatest discoveries in the world. So, what makes us think that we have to? We are no different than them and are all connected to the same source. With the correct understanding, we can also receive insights to any challenge we are facing. We are only ever one thought, one insight, and one idea away from living a completely different experience of life. Here's the process of receiving divine downloads when you are confronted with a challenge. Become aware that your thinking is the root cause of all negative emotions.
Create space by surrendering any manual thinking from the personal mind and have complete faith that your inner wisdom, God, universe, infinite intelligence will give you the answer. Also, surrender the how and when the answer will come to you. Become aware of any feelings that arise as you surrender and magnify those feelings of love, peace, and joy. Meet what you're facing with love, and the answer will come to you. If it seems almost too simple, that's a good thing. The truth is always simple, although it may be simple. It's not always easy, and even the greatest spiritual masters struggle at times. What's important is not when we get caught in our thinking, because it's inevitable, but what we do when we catch ourselves thinking again, as long as you continually remember that we can only ever feel what we are thinking, and that thinking is the root cause of all of our suffering, then you're free. Chapter 16. What happens when you begin living in a non thinking potential obstacles? Do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. Dalai Lama. As you go along your journey of non thinking, you'll inevitably hit some roadblocks along the way. So, I'd like to bring up some of those potential issues before you encounter them so that it is a little bit easier for you. Once you begin living your life in non thinking, you'll be having the time of your life, not having very many worries, stress, or problems in your life. Many of them will just vanish before your eyes because if you don't see things as problems anymore, they literally stop being a problem for you. What you'll not notice is that you have not felt this type of peace and serenity in your life before, and thus it will feel unfamiliar. We as humans biologically don't like what's unfamiliar because it means uncertainty. What's ironic is that right about this time is when most people begin thinking that something is wrong because they feel so happy and peaceful the majority of the day. Many feel like they're not as productive, have lost their edge, or are just lazier. This is far from the truth, and it's just your brain attempting to begin thinking again to create the illusion of safety it wants to feel. The truth is that we are most productive as humans when we are happy and in a state of non thinking. Time seems to fly when we are in a state of pure joy. Tasks are easier, we perform better, people gravitate to us, we attract way more abundance, and miracles begin to occur out of nowhere. We just have to stay in the state of non thinking long enough to experience these things, and you'll never want to go back. This is when faith becomes of the utmost importance. Having faith that things will be okay. Know that the universe is working for you, not against you, that everything happens for a reason, and that there are no failures in life, just lessons and opportunities for us to grow. We must have faith in the unknown because that's the only place that contains the possibility for anything to be different than the life we are living right now. The unknown is where all possibilities exist, including everything you could possibly ever want for your life. Once you have the courage to make the leap into the unknown and to not be afraid of it anymore, it's impossible that your life won't change. If you bring to feel like something's wrong because you feel way too peaceful and content, know that it's only your mind trying to make you think again. Your mind is the greatest salesman and knows exactly what to say to get you to bring you back into its viscous cycle of destructive thinking. It is in this moment that you have the choice to have faith in the unknown and stay in the feeling of happiness, peace, and love, or to go back to the old patterns of familiar pain and psychological suffering. We can either choose to be free and happy in the unknown or to be confined and suffer in the familiar. If you do fall back into thinking, it's completely okay. Do not beat yourself up about it. Don't feel guilty that it happened.
There's no need to push yourself because that will only perpetuate the thinking. Know that it is absolutely human to think. Once you catch yourself and see that it is your thinking that's causing you suffering, that's all you have to do in order to bring yourself to a state of peace, happiness, and love again. The transition can happen painlessly and effortlessly if you let it. Chapter 17. Now what? There will come a time when you believe everything is finished. That will be the beginning. Louis Armour. Although this is the end of the book, it's just the beginning of a new life for you. You're only ever one thought away from peace, love, and joy, which comes from a state of non thinking. Remember this and keep it close to your heart because it is all the hope you need when life gets inevitably tough. In the beginning, I promised you that you will not be the same person as you were before you read this book. If you began reading this book with the intention of having an open and willing mind, then you have already received numerous insights that have completely changed the way you look at life. And thus, you're not the same person as you were before. Once you see something new from an inside, you cannot unsee it. Once your consciousness expands, it cannot contract again. We may forget from time to time and cause ourselves to suffer when we begin thinking again. But as soon as we remember that, we immediately realize that we are the ever expanding awareness of life itself and find love, peace, and joy in the present. If this seems like it is too simple and that it can't be all there is, that is just your mind causing you to think again. The truth is simple and will always be. Anything that makes something complex and integrate is only taking you further away from the truth. The truth is not something you think, but something that you know and feel deep in your soul. Listen to that still inner wisdom inside of you that knows all of this. Let it guide you through your life. We are most fulfilled when we listen to our soul. The world will continuously advertise to us that we are not enough, that we are missing something, or don't have everything we want. People will constantly bombard you with their own opinions, judgments, and advice. Know that they are innocently caught up in their thinking and thank them for caring, but do not fall into the illusion that you need any of that. Everything you could possibly ever want and need is already inside of you. You're already all of the love, joy, peace, and fulfillment you have ever wanted. It is only when we forget the fact and get caught up in our thinking that we don't see it. Continue to live in this state of pure peace and let go of any thinking that may pop up in your mind. The longer you stay in this space, the more miracles will show up in your life. Although you can go and share this message with every person you meet, you won't even need to because they will notice something completely different about you. You'll be growing vibrant and emitting pure love and joy. And they will begin asking why and how. You are now equipped with everything you need to know on how to stop your own psychological suffering and embody a state of peace, love, and joy which is always available to you at all times. There's a good chance that you have already experienced the bliss of knowing and being this. There is absolutely no coincidence that you have picked up this book and for us to be able to share our journey here together. I'm always amazed at all of the divine intersections that have to had happened for us to be here together right now. It is truly humbling and an incredible blessing that you have allowed me to guide you through this infinitely beautiful experience we call life. Before we close this chapter, I do have one small favor to ask. If you have found this book helpful or insightful, it would be an incredible honor if you could take 60 seconds to leave a review about this book on Amazon. I would truly love to hear about your thoughts, insights, feedback, your personal journey, and everything in between. The few words you shared there
will help spread this message to so many souls who are also looking for the same answers you are. And it will change someone's life because it does not read Amazon reviews before they buy something, right? For anyone that's interested in connecting with me even further, I would love to hear from you at hello@josephnugent.org about anything and everything. It brings me such a deep feeling of joy to hear other people's story. So I do keep my inbox open for those who would like to share. I look forward to hearing from you soon. With love and light, Joseph. PS. In the next few pages, there will be a summary and guides to help you implement much of what is mentioned in this book. If you feel inspired to get additional help with applying these principles to change your life or business, I would love to invite you to visit my website to explore possibilities of how we can work together. Summary of non thinking. Thinking is the root cause of all suffering. There is no other answer to why we feel negative emotions. Other than that, it is from our own thinking. Everything can be traced back to our thinking, which makes problem solving very simple. Once we realize that our thinking is causing how we feel, we can let go of it and return to our natural state of peace, love, and joy. When we let go of our thinking, it creates space for us to be able to allow all positive emotions we want to feel to surface from within us. We don't live in reality, we live in a perception of reality, which is created by our own thinking. Thinking is not an effect of our experiences, but the cause of it. The thoughts in our mind are not facts. Our thinking only has to control over us if we believe it. Let go of the belief in the thought to let go of the suffering. Our feelings are direct feedback and an innate internal guidance system to let us know whether we are lacking understanding or have absolute clarity of truth. Feelings are an invitation to deepen our understanding of the truth. We are in flow when we are not thinking. There's no separation between us and the universe and all of life when we are not thinking. This is only when we think that we cut ourselves from source and feel separated from all things, the birth of the ego. Thinking and thoughts are two different things. Thinking is a verb and requires our manual effort, which causes suffering. Thoughts are nouns which do not come from us and are divine downloads from the universe. We think because it is a biological response to survive. Our minds think only because it is trying to keep us alive, but it does not help us thrive. It is only concerned with our safety and survival, but not our fulfillment. Thinking holds us back from our highest selves by causing negative feelings within us that prevents us from following our true callings. Our minds are limited to our personal experiences. If you want to receive insights, creativity, and knowledge beyond the capabilities of your current self, simply choose to listen to infinite intelligence rather than your finite mind. This infinite source of truth is available to all people at all times if we allow it to be. Universal intelligence or mind is the energy that is everything in this universe. It is the source of where everything comes from, that is before form, and we made up of it. This energy has a feeling, which is the feeling of love, peace, joy, connection, and well being. This is what we fall back into when we let go of our thinking, and it is our natural state. Since we are all always connected to the same source of finite intelligence, once we let go of our thinking, we access new thoughts, ideas, and insights, even if we have never experienced them before. The more we trust our intuition and this infinite intelligence, the more we will receive these insights that are always available to us. Peace, love, joy, and all positive emotions are our default state as humans. It is only when we begin thinking, then we get taken out of that natural state. Once we let go of our thinking, we fall back into our natural state of being and experience all positive feelings effortlessly. We are ever only one thought or one insight away from expanding our consciousness and experiencing a deeper feeling of love at all times, which comes from a state of non thinking.
Clarity is the nature of our minds and our default state. It is only when we get caught up in our thinking that the things do not seem so. If we let go of our thinking, we return to our factory default setting of peace, love, joy, and a quiet mind. There is nothing inherently wrong with anyone or anything in the universe, but our thinking will make us think so. You do not have to be fixed because you're not broken. There's only something for you to realize and remember. What is that thinking is the root cause of our suffering. You do not have to do anything about your thinking. All you have to do is shift your understanding of thinking, and you will fall back into the truth of who you are, which is beyond your thinking, your body, and everything you think you know. As soon as you let go of your thinking, you become one with infinite intelligence, allowing you to feel a never ending abundance of love, peace, and joy that is always available to you because that is your true nature. When you make space for infinite intelligence, it makes space for you. The more you trust it, the more it trusts you. There's never an end to how much space you can make for it. When you prioritize making space in your life and in your mind for infinite intelligence to come through, your life will change.
A guide to stop thinking. Eliminate things that may make you more prone to thinking or things that cause you to be in a fight or flight mode. Eliminate as many things and actions in your life that do not inspire you or excite you. Create an environment that helps put you into a non thinking state. Create a morning activation ritual to help you start your day in a peaceful, non thinking state. Use this space to receive insights from infinite intelligence to help you navigate through life. Create space in your day to be able to decompress, relax, and return to a state of non thinking. Write out things you can do during your day that can help you achieve this. It could be journaling, taking a walk, meditating, playing with your pets, taking a nap, doing yoga, or anything relaxing. Framework for how to stop thinking. Realize thinking is the root of all suffering. Understand the true nature of thinking. Realize if you are suffering, you're thinking. Realize the difference between thinking and thoughts. Don't try to find the root cause. Thinking is the root cause. Create a space for persisting negative thinking. Allow them to be there and acknowledge them for what they are. Understand that you are the sacred space that holds these feelings, but that you are not the feelings themselves. Don't be afraid to be alone with your thinking and have the courage to allow it to be in your consciousness. Welcome it in and see that the thinking just wants to be acknowledged. Realize that negative thoughts only have power over you if you believe in them. Once you allow them to exist in your consciousness and don't resist the feelings, you can then look beyond the feelings to see the truth behind it all. Every feelings contain a seed of truth in it which will help you deepen your awareness and allow you to experience life more fully. Once you acknowledge the thinking, allow it all to pass and allow yourself to just be without attaching to anything. Naturally, positive emotions will arise like peace, love, and joy. Allow yourself to enjoy these emotions as they come up. If the negative feeling still persists, then go back to step one and repeat until you've been able to find some peace. Not wanting to let go of thinking because you think that it is what got you to where you are. While this is true, you must realize that what got you here won't get you there. If you want to break the viscous cycle of suffering and the same self destructive patterns repeating in your life, you'll have to do something different. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. The real question is, do you want to be happy or not? If you understand that thinking is the root cause of all of your sufferings and do not want to be unhappy any longer, then you will be able to make the leap of faith into non thinking. Not enough faith. In order for there to even be a possibility that there could be a life filled with joy, peace, and love every single day, you must first believe that it is possible. One must also believe that they are part of something much bigger than that is the life force that has been taking care of them this whole time, the universe or God. Having faith in something much bigger than we are without being able to fully comprehend it with our finite minds is the only way we can surrender our manual efforts and experience total peace in our lives versus worrying about everything. Fear. Fear is completely normal emotion when it comes to trusting in the universe, which is also the unknown. Fear is an indication that something is very important to us. So, this is a great sign. Everything we could ever want is on the other side of fear, and deep down, you know this is the truth. The rest we must pass in order to obtain all we desire is fear itself. The way out is through and going deep within yourself to see and know that you will be okay no matter what. That this fear cannot and will not kill you, but if you do not confront it, it will take the life of all your dreams instead. Thinking is the root cause of fear. If you don't think, there is no fear. Follow the framework for how to stop thinking to overcome the fear and experience what life can be like without limits. How you will know if you are in a state of non thinking. If you're not thinking, you'll experience complete peace, love, joy, passion, excitement, inspiration, bliss, and any positive emotion your mind can conceive. You'll feel like you're in flow. You'll lose sense of time, space, and even yourself. You will feel one with life. This is how you know you're not thinking. Reflection prompts. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you think today? 1 being low, 10 being high. What percentage of your day was spent in fight or flight mode? What percentage was spent in a relaxed, calm state? A guide to creating a non thinking environment. Your environment will either induce and support the state of non thinking or it can make you more prone to thinking. Although we create our reality from the inside out, many times we are still affected by our environment. Since we are spiritual beings living in a physical world, we cannot completely detach from this 3D world just yet. So it is important to create an environment that is conducive to non thinking. In order to be productive, the best way to do it is to eliminate distractions instead of trying to do more. Similarly, if we eliminate many of the things that we know that can trigger us to relapse back into thinking, then we will be able to stay in a peaceful state of non thinking much easier. Remember that changing your environment and not yourself will not work long term. A delicate blend of both will be what you need to create a beautiful life you love to live. Framework for removing thinking triggers. Perform an audit to see what things can make you more susceptible to thinking and make a list. Write down everything that comes to mind. What can help is to tap into your intuition and feel energetically in your body. If this specific thing in an environment will help or hurt you, if you are in a calm, relaxed state, the answer will be obvious. If you're having trouble with coming up with things, try to remember what things tend to put you into a fight or flight mode, make you anxious or overthink. Anything that puts you into a survival state will not help you maintain a state of non thinking. If it is difficult to think or of things that you can keep a journal as you go about your week and write down anything that seems to put you into a fight or flight mode. You'll have a nice list by the end of the week. Organize all of the things you wrote down into categories. Here are some examples of categories. Physical health. What things that when you put into your body can make you more prone to experience a fight or flight response. Anxiety, stress, overthinking, food, stimulants, drinks, etc. Physical environment. What things in your physical environment can make you more prone to experience a fight or flight response? Anxiety, stress, overthinking. Digital environment, where things on your phone, computer, or TV can make you more prone to experience a fight or flight response, anxiety, stress, overthinking. Digital consumption, what media or content when you consume can make you more prone to experience a fight or flight response, anxiety, stress, overthinking. After you categorize everything, reorganize your list and begin ranking the items from things that affect you most to the last. Choose the top items from each list and create an action item on what you plan to do in order to remove it from your environment. Choose only what would be manageable, and possible for you to remove without making you prone to even more stress. This would defeat the purpose of the exercise. Start small, and after you've become acquainted with the changes and see the impact, you can begin eliminating other things. Framework for creating a non thinking environment. Write down all of the things that help you get into a relaxed, peaceful, non thinking state. These can be things like exercise, meditation, having a certain genre of music on, location, etc. Organize the items on your list into categories. Example of categories: physical health, what things that you put into your body helps you feel healthy, sustainably energized, and peaceful. Physical environment, what things in your physical environment helps you feel aligned with your divine self. Digital environment, what things on your phone, computer, or TV helps you feel aligned with your divine self. Digital consumption, what media content you consume helps you feel aligned with your highest self. Rank the items in each category from most impactful to least impactful to helping you get into and remain into a non thinking state. Choose the top items from each list and create an action item on how you will incorporate it into your life. Try not to do too much at once because it can be overwhelming. Do what is manageable for you for now, and you can add on more later after you've become acquainted with it. Create an activation ritual or morning routine that helps you get into a state of non thinking and helps you align with your highest self. Plan out what the ideal morning routine looks like that you can do now. Start small and don't overwhelm yourself. Ensure that there is time for you to create space like meditation, yoga, or any spiritual practice to help you tune into infinite intelligence. How you start your day will create momentum for how your day will go. If you start your day off by checking your phone, emails, and what you have to do, you're starting your day in a stressful fight or flight mode of thinking, which will carry on for the rest of the day. If you begin your day in a peaceful state and perform a routine that gets you into a state of non thinking, you'll carry that momentum throughout your day, and it will be much harder to get caught up in external things that could make you relapse back into thinking and stress. This is why all the greatest spiritual masters have morning routines or rituals of some kind. Framework for implementing non thinking into your work. Create a list of things you do in your work that drain you of energy, things that you don't like doing or just feel overall heavy in your work. Create a list of things you do in your work that gives you energy, things that make you feel inspired, energetic, alive, and light. Go back through your whole list and give a rating for each activity that you do on a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being extremely energy draining and 10 making you feel the most alive and inspired when you do it. Each week, eliminate 1 to 3 things from your energy draining list and do more of the activities that are a 9 and 10 on your list. The goal is to get to a point where you're spending 80% of your work time doing things that are a 9 and 10 on your list. A guide to overcoming destructive habits or behaviors. As you create more space and begin not thinking as much, you'll quickly discover that you will become aware of a lot of negative, destructive habits you may have that keep making you more prone to suffering. This is completely okay. Do not beat yourself up about it because it will only make things worse. Here's a more detailed guide below that will help you break any destructive habits. Become aware of what behavior you want to change and confirm that it is something you genuinely want to alter. Understand that if you want to change and stop the vicious cycle of suffering, you're going to have to change and let go of the beliefs you are holding on to that are creating the suffering. If you don't want to change it, there's no point in continuing forward. But if you do want to change, then let's begin the process of letting go. Write down in exact, meticulous detail what happens with this behavior, how many times it happens, when it happens, etc.
Don't spare any details. What are you feeling in the moment right before you begin the behavior? What's the feeling that triggers the behavior? Be honest with yourself. What specific thinking patterns are going on? What are you saying to yourself in the moment when this happens? Describe it in exact detail. What beliefs do you have around this habit? What conclusions have you made which compel you to feel like you have to perform this behavior or action? How do you feel when you believe that thinking? What do you believe will happen if you don't perform the behavior? In other words, what consequences do you believe will happen if you don't perform the action? Is it absolutely 100% true that it will happen if you don't perform the behavior? Can you see how destructive this thinking is and how much it causes you to suffer? Are you willing to let this thinking and behavior go now? Consult your inner wisdom and highest self. What is it trying to tell you? What is it trying to help you learn? How is it telling you to restore balance into your life? How is it telling you to grow right now? Create space and wait for an insight from infinite intelligence as to why you actually want to change. When you receive the insight, allow yourself to fully feel the freedom, peace, and joy. Feel the weight lifted off your shoulders. You'll know you did it right if you physically and energetically feel lighter, and if you don't see the action or habit in the same way anymore. Fully immerse yourself in the feeling of deep gratitude and just allow yourself to be. Write down any insight you've had and journal your experience you just had so you can have a documentation of these miracles in your life. What to do if the feeling comes back up again? Follow this guide again until you have an insight or breakthrough that completely changes the way you look at life. Thank you so much, everyone. This was it from the book Don't Believe Everything You Think by Joseph Nguyen. How do you like about the audiobook? Please don't forget to leave a comment below. And do like, share, and subscribe to my channel, which motivates and inspires me to keep such videos more and more in the channel. Thank you very much.